Welcome.
Welcome.
Show. Ask Billy and Eugene Business Show.
Oh, hello everyone. Hello Mike. Hello Mani, Sonia.
Welcome. Hello everyone. So today's topic is cash flow.
Cash is king, puppy.
So cash flow is one of the top 3 reasons why businesses fail. So really excited about today's session, and Billy's going to share some tips and tricks with us. So he also does the cash flow for my other businesses, Time IT. You see the shirt? So Time IT, Time Digital, My Coach, and some of the cash flow strategies that he's implemented has made a massive difference in our cash flow. Some of the software solutions that he implemented has made a massive difference. So super excited to be able to share that with you guys today. And then give me cash, I'll make it flow.
Yeah. That would be great, eh?
Yeah.
Hello, Nico.
So yeah, just for the guys that hasn't been on the show before, what the show is about is connecting digital entrepreneurs with higher level entrepreneurs that they wouldn't normally get access to through the other companies that myself and Willie have, the Value Smart, Time, IT, etc. We deal with quite large companies, big organizations, guys that's making a big difference. One of the guys that I was at yesterday where we presented the webinar from, it's about 3 years older than me, extremely successful. He's got multiple companies. He's got a hedge fund that he minimum buying something like 150,000 Rand for like the basic one. The high level one's 2.5 million. They manage millions in funds. They've got electronic distribution and. So having access to that type of person and just seeing what did it take them and how did they become so successful is not the type of person that a normal entrepreneur would have access to. Myself and Willie do have access to these type of guys. So it's interviewing them, and we're going to push them and get all the secrets out of them.
They have to share. That's the whole purpose of getting the giants, right? It's getting industry experts getting to share what they know with all of us, and we're all here to learn together.
And we're all on this journey of self-development, self-improvement, learning about business, learning what we can do to achieve our end result just that much quicker. And then for the few guys that's joined, that's not part of our mastermind group yet, we'll give you an option later to join if you do want to. So Entrepreneur HQ is a digital platform, a digital connection for digital entrepreneurs. Everything we do is digital. We try and automate as much as possible. And then obviously we've got the course that gives you the background of what we chat about on our mastermind group and what the tips and strategies and tricks are that we use on a daily basis as we learn new things. So yesterday I mentioned on the mastermind group as well about a Facebook thing that I figured out that I want to tell you guys about shortly. And then lastly is our competition. So our competition is going to run after the show. So I already shared the link on the mastermind group. Don't join it yet because I need to set up the automation in the back end. But after the show, then I'll send you out the new link where you can then join. So that's a competition to win 12 months free mentoring and coaching from myself and Willie, valued at 150,000 bucks. That's what it would cost if we had to do that level of coaching on a regular basis. And our aim is to double or triple whatever business we are going to mentor and coach. And then we're going to share it on the business show as well. So once a month, we'll have the person that wins that competition, we'll have them on and we'll share their journey and just what's the stuff that they learned during the week. And then obviously we'll post updates on our mastermind group as well, on the WhatsApp group. So at the end, I'll give everyone that's not part of our mastermind group yet to join. And it's getting really fun and really interactive.
Yeah, community is growing fast.
Yeah. And it's something that myself and Willie started just as a kind of a give back. We didn't really have much of an expectation from it. And I must say it's growing pretty good. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of communication. The group is active. They're helping each other, which is really awesome. That's what we wanted to do, is create this peer learning thing. As we mentioned multiple times, you are the average of the people that you spend your time with. most entrepreneurs realize that, and they do want to lift their emotional intelligence. They don't know where to find. So it's called collective consciousness. You become the collective of, or your consciousness becomes the collective of everyone that you spend your time with. Where do you find people to lift your emotional intelligence? Where do you find people to lift your collective consciousness? Move up to a higher level, to change your money blueprint, because you'll never earn more than what your money blueprint says. So T. Harv Eker talks about your money blueprint. Whatever your self-worth is in your head, that's what you'll earn. You'll never earn more than that. You might go above that temporarily and then move back down again. So yeah, and then great stuff with Willie that we're going to discuss the cash flow strategies. Whoa, Willie dropped off. Where we're going to discuss the cash flow strategies. Before we get to that, I want to share that Facebook thing that I talked about. So we run ads, 4 ads that's really successful. I duplicate the ad. So I copy the ad, post it again with a new link to the registration, but it uses the same target audience, the same landing pages, the same script, the same images, everything. What we did was we took one of our best performing ads and we tripled our ad budget. So for example, if we're spending 5,000 Rand, we moved it up to 15,000 Rand for the week for that particular ad. And our previous conversion was 17 Rand for a conversion ad. So we paid 17 Rand for each guy that registered and that converted into a subscriber. We then took that particular ad and we tripled the ad budget, and we ended up paying 42 Rand for a subscriber.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Same audience, same image, same text, same landing page. Everything was exactly the same. And they more than doubled our cost per conversion. What we did then as a test for ourselves, because the only thing we changed was the ad budget. So we then started looking or reading up, and we found that if you double or if your ad budget is too aggressive, if it increases too aggressively, Facebook actually charges you more for conversion. It's absolutely crazy. So what we did then is we started the ad a bit sooner. So normally we'll start the ad about 3 days before webinar. So we started it 6 days before the webinar. We put in a really low budget, gave it 3 days to get the conversions. We were paying about 18 Rand for conversion, and then we tripled the ad budget for existing running ad. And it carried on at our first conversion of 18 or 19 Rand for conversion. I think we finished on like 19.
19. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's something for everyone that's going to be doing paid advertising, and that's going to apply to any of these platforms. What you need to understand is these guys' platforms works on algorithms, so they've already got tried and tested methods which they use to actually deliver you the best results, and by throwing a budget at the problem to gain a lot of leads in a very short time, kind of stuffs around with that algorithm. And that's why you really need to start small and start scaling that ad as you go along. So that's why it's critical to make sure that you actually give yourself enough time. I think that's the thing. I mean, we ran out of time, and we actually thought that, okay, by using a bigger budget, you're going to get a lot more results. And yeah, and we couldn't be more wrong, eh? We were like, kind of, can't be, but we've tested it, and it's actually, that was the problem. So, I mean, we actually thought that by taking people's cell phone numbers was the deterrent from getting actual leads, and it was absolutely not the case.
Luckily, you've got guys like us wasting money on stuff like that.
Lots of money.
We lost a lot of money on that in one. So guys using it, and then we share it on the mastermind group. So we'll share more updates as we learn stuff. We'll obviously share it. But it's a continuous journey. It's continuous learning. It's wasting money, getting better results, changing stuff. Then you dip again, and you change things, and it comes up again. So actually adding another field for telephone number doesn't affect your cost for registration. We figured it out now for this ad that we ran. We added a field for telephone numbers, and our ads finished at 19 Rand 20 or 19 Rand 80 for conversion. Where the previous one was 2 Rand, just because we doubled the budget.
And how cool was it? You can actually go to the Facebook platform and compare your stats, whereas you had to print flyers. I mean, you wouldn't have realized that you're not getting the results that you're not getting. So that's another important lesson: is you can't fix what you can't measure. So if you look at the results, then it's powerful. It's powerful.
Yeah, as well. Will you remember that ad that I ran in the JC magazine?
Yes.
So I paid, I can't remember what it was. I think it was 32,000 Rand or something.
It was 30K something, yeah.
Okay, around about there. And I had a full page in the back cover of the JC magazine. And I set up a specific landing page so that I can measure how many people visit that landing page. And it was a hidden URL, so you had to type it in so that I can measure how many people came from that.
And what was your results?
I got 3 people that visited our site and the clients out of it. So that's for the coaching business. And for adding the JC. And I knew it wasn't going to work, but I had to test it for myself. I need to test things for myself. If someone says it doesn't work, then I'm like, yeah, I'll make it work. I don't make that one work.
For sure.
I spent 1,000 Rand on a advert in a magazine. I've got no way of tracking it. I've got no way of optimizing it. That magazine ran for 3 months. On a Facebook ad, a day after it's running, if I see something's wrong on it, I can go and change it. That magazine ad wasn't working. Couldn't do anything about it. I had to sit and laugh at me wasting money. So it's continuous trying and testing all these different things. We advertised on 702 as well. That worked pretty well for lead generation. None of them converted though.
Yeah, which is kind of pointless, right?
We had a 25-second something ad, and we had about 17 people that phoned me directly after the ad ran. And it was a once-off ad. And it was also, I can't remember, 12,000 Rand or something like that. Compare that to Facebook marketing. What's the leads? I mean, for that last webinar, we spent,
I think, 2,500.
2,500, and we got 110 leads in.
Yep.
In total, we've got about it's over 1,000 registrations. So we've got over 1,000 potential customers through that, and about 65 actual paid customers. And this is all from Entrepreneur HQ. This is all our learning stuff. So we don't really do the Entrepreneur HQ to make money out of it. We make enough money I guess money's never enough, but we make enough money to sustain our lifestyle from the other businesses, and then Entrepreneur HQ is our gift.
We pay to work here.
Yeah, no, we actually pay to work. We pay from our other stuff to continue running. At a point, it'll start getting profitable. For now, it's still not profitable. At a point, it will become profitable. So our next steps is the seminars and stuff that we're going to do. We'll chat a bit about it later on in the mastermind group as well. But we're planning probably towards the end of August a get together. We'll keep it exclusive, so it's going to be a bit more expensive, but we'll only have maybe 20 guys in that group, so 10 to 20 people, so that we can give attention to everyone, run it over 3 days, and we sit there and we actually help you finish everything. By the time you walk out, everything's running, your automation's set up, etc., etc. Cool, that is it. So next up is our giant for today.
Not because I'm Dirk.
Member, Willie van Dijk. So welcome, Willie. Welcome to the business show. Now you are sitting on the opposite side. Normally you are the interviewer. Today you are the interviewee. Before we get started, firstly, just tell us a bit about your background from an entrepreneurship perspective. Where did Willie van Dijk start his entrepreneur journey?
Yeah, thanks, Eugene, for having me on the show. So yeah, I think if I can remember correctly, the first business I actually started was when I was in primary school. I was selling. Yeah, I was getting my sister to bake me some meringues, and I went to school every day, sold all of them, came back home, and at the end of the month, I was quite. I grew up on a farm in the Janine area, and I actually used all that money to buy fishing gear on a monthly basis. So that kind of fed that hobby for me. So that was the first business I started, and then I went to high school, and I got the opportunity to actually go to boarding school. And you know how hungry boarding school kids get. So this kind of opportunity which I recognized, and I once again got my mother and my sister to make me chocolate cookies every weekend. And during the week, I would go to hostel and sell all of that stuff off there. So I feel like I had this entrepreneurial thing in me. But when I hit 18, and what society tells you is you actually need to go to university, and you need to have a degree, because that's the only way that you're actually going to make it. And I got into that same rut. And to be honest, I came to Pretoria, and I had one massive long holiday for 6 months. So I call it Tux Aventura. So when I left Tux Aventura, I actually got the opportunity to go overseas, and I stayed in England for 3 years. Loved it. My passion for travel really started there. It gave me an opportunity to see the world and have another perspective of what's out there. And it and I actually also had a business there. I don't know how legal it was, but let's not talk about that. But I came back.
Very legal, please. Legal businesses.
Okay, yeah. So let's not talk about that one. So I came back, and I had this very nice job, and I had friends, and I've got a majority of my friends are actually accountants. And they kind of said to me, dude, what are you going to do with your life? I said, I've got a nice lacquer job. It's paying a lot of money. You guys are studying. You're not getting nothing. And they said, dude, you need to change your mindset in terms of that, because there's going to come a day where you're still going to be that manager at the shop. And, that's actually how I became accountant. We went on holiday, and they went to UNISA to subscribe for the year's entries. And they said to me, dude, just try it for 1 year. It's going to cost you literally 3,000 Rand for the year. And that's how cheap it was at that point in time. And I enrolled as a university student, and I actually passed my first year. And I think that kind of gave me the belief that I am actually a good accountant. And to be honest, I actually like it being an accountant. I'm a bit of an orthodox accountant. I don't, not that I do funny things, but I'm not like an introvert and do all the stuff that the accountants do and speak about the accounting stuff all the time. So I'm completely different when it comes to that. I had this aspiration, once I've done my articles, to actually come to the city and, be a FD for one of these big companies and earn a lot of money and, have the status thing and stuff like that. And I actually got the opportunity when I finished my articles to get employed with a company in Pretoria. That's how I ended up here 8 years ago. Or not 8 years, 2008, 14 years ago, 12 years ago. And this company was bought by a big corporate. And I thought that this is my big break. They've got corporate structures, there's ways to go up there. And I'm so passionate about accounting. But as soon as I started working at this corporate place, I kind of had the discussion with my boss at that stage. And I was like, so when are you going to leave? He's like, no, I'm not going to leave. He's like, why? It's just, no, I really want to move up to that position. And he's like, but I'm not going to leave very soon. And I got kind of stuck in that I'm just a number thing. And I got really, really unhappy. And before I even moved to the corporate company, the guys I worked for, I actually got to know a lot of technology. So I kind of knew exactly what technology can do for the accounting industry. And I said, I want to start my business, but you know that the first time you actually need to take that leap of faith, it's probably one of the hardest things that you're ever going to do. And I just could not get myself to make that step towards that next place to actually start your own business. But I was with these guys for a while, and I said, I can't do this. I need to go back to a smaller firm where I felt I can make a bigger impact. And that's how I actually started my business. So I didn't start it immediately. I got a job as a FD in a company in Pretoria, and I did not do my own due diligence beforehand. And like 6 weeks into this journey of being an FD, our last client walked in there with a cancellation letter and said, we are immediately canceling your services. That in essence ended up that business right there and then. And I was like literally 6 weeks into this new journey. So you can imagine what kind of
Really, on that, I want to ask you a question as well. When you wanted to start your business, what was the feedback that you got from the people around you? Was it positive or negative?
Can you repeat that question to me?
So when you started your business, was everyone around you encouraging to say, yeah, start your business, go do your business, that's what you need to do? Or were they telling you, no, don't start a business, it's risky, people don't succeed in business, and?
Yeah, the thing was, the guy said, man, you did. I'm someone who don't burn bridges. So I kind of had an open line back to my previous boss, and I had a discussion with them, and I said, listen, this is what's happened, and my friends are saying just come back to it. So everyone said, no, dude, you can't do this. You need to just go back to the previous guys. It's so risky to have your own business and things like that. And I'm so grateful that at that point in time, I had a few people in my life who said, man, just take the leap of faith. I mean, you've made an arrangement with these guys, and I was lucky. I had some connections. I think it's a very important lesson, especially in the services industry. If your first clients are actually going to come from your closest circle of influence. So I managed to go to
from your network.
Exactly. So I managed to go to these guys, and I actually could substitute my salary. So I had a very good starting point. And that's really how this thing happened. And it's just, that just gave me that little nudge. And up to today, I can say with certainty, it must go really, really bad before I will even consider to go and be an FD for another company ever again. I was kind of blessed that, and it's not always easy. I've been through up and downs. I've had to start, I wouldn't say start over, but I made some business mistakes, which cost me dearly. Yeah, but the strange thing is, every time that I've made that mistake, I managed to get through that stronger. And by just thinking a bit differently about what I've done wrong, just to put it to you in perspective, from a cash flow perspective, and we're going to be talking about it today, I had 2 incidents in year 2 and year 5, which made things for me very difficult. And I changed my business model. And by doing that, during this COVID period, I really, it didn't really affect me that much, simply because of my prior mistakes. I actually managed to divert my risk so much that even though I lost some clients, I had a temporary discomfort, but I managed to substitute them quite quickly. So the downfall wasn't that great. So those are the things that I learned. And accountants also make financial mistakes. That's the reality, because I'm telling you. So the majority of it, So that there's a big myth out there. I mean, people go to the accountants for all the advice, but no disrespect to accountants, but the majority of accountants have never sat on this side of the chair, you know, or the table. And that's the one of the biggest mistakes that I made, is moving from an audit firm where you learn theoretical stuff and going to into the business world and trying to apply exactly that stuff. And, you know, kind of 2-3 months within my journey, I kind of realized that that's not really how the things work. And what's quite strange to me is the majority of people, the first thing when they run into problems or want business advice, they go to their accountants. Which you know, accountants know figures and they can analyze stuff for you, but they don't have all the questions. If they've not sat on the other side, you know, it's a terrible idea to go and ask them, how do they think you need to get more accountants? It's just...
Accountant is good at telling the history of your business because they can look at figures and analyze the history. Only you can tell the future of your business. Only you can predict your future. The best way of predicting the future is to create it. I found the best way of strategizing the future is sitting with my coach, sitting with him, and because we've got this puzzle in our head of where we're going to, but it's almost like all the puzzle pieces are lying on the table. The puzzle pieces aren't assembled yet. Yep. So going to my coach, he basically assembles all the pieces for me so that I have a clear picture of where I'm going. 2 stories I want to tell quick, Willie. The one is Robert Kiyosaki that always talks about. He says the general myth is go to school, get good grades, go to university, get your degree, get a job, earn a salary for the rest of your life. And that's kind of the stigma that our age grew up with. I think it's a lot more entrepreneurial coming up now. But our age, that's what we grew up with 20, 30 exactly. years ago we were in high school. So the other part, talking about when you started your journey of entrepreneurship, when you went full-time into entrepreneurship, it was absolutely crazy the amount of people that told me you can't do it, don't do it, trying to hold you back. And then a couple of years later, I read the story of, I can't remember, they took a chimpanzee or something like that, a group full of chimpanzees, and they had a treat at the top of a pole, and then as they climb up, they would spray oil or something on the pole and the chimps would fall down. They carried on, all the chimps tried until all of them fall down. Then eventually they put in a new chimp that's never been there before, and when he tries to climb the pole, the other ones pull him down. He doesn't even know that he's getting put down or what the reason was. Eventually, they took out all the chimps that's ever climbed the pole, and all the chimps in there was brand new chimps. When a new chimp comes in and tries to climb the pole, they pull him down, but they've got no idea why they're doing it. Yep. So I think in business, it's this general conception.
Exactly the same thing.
Be successful. As soon as you're, what's that thing? As soon as you're above the reeds, they want to chop it off. So as soon as you move above a certain level, people want to pull you down because that's a general society. They don't want you to be able to be more successful than what they are, because they feel bad about themselves. So it's allowing someone else to be successful and seeing someone else that's have resentment or anything, to understand that that's their journey. It's not your journey. Don't worry about their journey. Congratulate them for their journey. They've been through different things that you have, and focus on your own journey again. Yeah, it was interesting how many people stop or try to stop you when you want to start your business. So we're going to talk about cash flow, really. Accounting is not one of the most interesting stories in the world. So one accountant that can have an interesting story around cash flow, it would be you. And cash flow is our business. And I think that's one of the big reasons why so many businesses fail. Because accounting is such a mundane job, and most entrepreneurs are creative personalities, which means they're good at starting things, they're bad at finishing it. They're good at the higher level stuff and the strategic things, very bad at the detail-oriented stuff, which means they don't ever get to the detail-oriented stuff. They neglect the detail-oriented stuff. And 6 months down the line or 2 years down the line, the business fails and it crashes because their cash flow is down the tube, because they never did their duty when they started the business, setting the accounting practice and that sort of stuff. So the first question that I want to ask you is, what's your view on accounting systems? A lot of the entrepreneurs that I coach walk into the business or walk into their first session and ask for their financials and their Excel spreadsheet. What's your view on that?
Yeah, look, before we get there, I think what people need to understand, or entrepreneurs, is the number one reason, or one of the number one reasons why people start businesses is to make money, to create wealth. And cash flow problems, because the majority of them experience that, is really just a symptom of something else. All right. Okay. And that symptom is one of the biggest downfalls that they've got is that people do not use systems. So just to give you an example, if you become my client and you rock up there with an Excel spreadsheet and you are not prepared to go onto an automated online system, I will not take you up as a client, simply because of the way that and the reason why I do it is all the risks that's involved in having Excel as a bookkeeping program. So Excel is an extremely good tool when it comes to spreadsheets and when it comes to building forecasts.
Is Willie frozen? Is it just on my side, or Willie, you froze there for a second?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, did you get a call? Your phone is hotspot.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, so Excel is a great tool for spreadsheets and forecasting, but it's an extremely bad tool for doing bookkeeping. And the reason for that is, bookkeeping is based on debits and credits. Now, this is very technical, but I don't want to go into too much steps. But accounting programs has been written to take care of these checks and balances for you. In other words, it handles, and all that accounting is the reworking of data from raw data all the way to reports. And this is where entrepreneurs miss everything. Say do the raw data on the one side in Excel, but it never ties up back to a system which does the checks and balances for you to check that everything balances. And it is so important, because before you look at a report, you need to make sure that the data is correct. So there's always 3 steps in between. So process the data, reconcile, look at reports. Okay. So by knowing that, the reason why guys or entrepreneurs experience cash flow problems, they don't have a system, number one, to manage their income and expenses. And what I mean by that is they don't have a place where they can quickly go and look at a report and just look at what's the income, look at what's the expenses, do various analysis and things like that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is they spend hours and hours of their time doing these mundane tasks, doing invoices on Excel, then email them or printing them to PDF, then email them to their clients. It is such unproductive time, like it's unreal. And then the third thing is, Eugene, just to give you an example, and maybe you can jump in there. So there's software out there which helps you to automate some of the tasks. And for example, we've implemented Chaser at a lot of client sites. So that's really a piece of software that you implement.
Yes, as an example. So it's all the stuff that you implemented at Time IT.
Yeah.
It's
so
big system, and we've got over 1,000 clients. We've got a massive amount of payments and invoices, etc.
So the first thing we did was
in the last month. I haven't touched my system in a month.
Yeah, so I mean, it was quite easy. So the first thing we did was we migrated from a desktop system to a cloud system. And the reason why we did that is, number one, for security purposes. Believe it or not, something in the cloud is a lot more secure than something on someone's PC.
Go on. While you're talking, everyone just pop there in the comments. How do you currently do your accounting? How do you capture your accounting at this point in time? So just pop there in the comments so we can just have a broad view of what systems everyone's using. Thanks, for you can carry on.
Please not Excel. No, I'm joking. So we can help you to sort that out. So first of all, we moved from a desktop to a cloud environment. And the reason why we did that, it's more secure and it's more accessible from various places. So one of the strategies in terms of getting your cash flow up there is some of the tasks you can actually automate. In other words, you don't need full-time people, so you can go and outsource some of those functions. This allows outsource guys to actually work on the same system without being without the need to get in a vehicle or drive to your premises. Then we look at all the problems that you experience in all the various transaction types. So bank transactions. Previously, guys used to get bank statements and punch it in with their hands. So they used to make mistakes. It took very long. Supplier documents, getting it from the suppliers and getting it into the system. Then your client invoices to your client. So it all goes up. So in order to improve your cash flow, you need to do things a lot faster. And by doing things faster, you can make more accurate, quickly decisions at the very, like literally at the push of a button. So this is how we do this. Majority of the your revenue, you get industry apps. So if you've got a point of sale, so while someone is selling in the front end of the shop, it processes that to your accounting system. The bank transactions, it comes into the system automatically, and you can set up bank rules. So the system actually starts suggesting where it needs to be processed. Supplier documents, we collect them automatically. So all of this information goes in the system much faster, and there's rules that set up. So you can literally, by 2 days after month end, pick up a report and go and go pinpoint where do you think the problems is in your business. And as soon as you start getting that right, you can actually start doing cash flow forecasts. In other words, by using certain assumptions, you can look into the future and say to yourself, by next year, yeah. So it's very strange. I'm not a data scientist, but one thing that I can tell you is I've been through this process with a lot of my clients, and I wouldn't say now there was an anomaly in terms of the COVID stuff, but normally there's like a trend in a business's revenue. And by looking at the profits and the stuff, you can actually now say, I need to start putting away cash for next year. That time where it normally takes.
The story as well, and I want to ask you a question. One of the things I love the most about, I got the pop shove today, guys. So when I do the videos, this thing clicks into your fingers and no more broken cases. And then, okay, so one of the things I like the most is that app that you load on your phone. Where you take a picture of a slip. Normally, my accountants say, so I've got 2 ladies that works for me in the office that does my accounts for me for the business. And they normally hate me because I firstly don't bring in the slips, and then secondly, when I do bring in the slips, by the time I bring it in, it's all dead and everything like that. Now with a new app that Willy sets up for me, I take a picture of the slip and it books in my supplier invoice, it creates the supplier, it brings in the actual stock item that came in or the expense item that came in, and I just go click, well, I don't do it, so Limo or Nicole does it, they go click, okay. And
exactly.
All this. The other day I was sitting next to you and you were busy with the client stuff, and it was 1,100 invoices that you process in like 4 minutes.
Yep.
I mean, that's insane. So if you calculate, so for me, for example, I charge 1,500 per hour. So if I spend 10 hours on my account, it's costing me 15,000 Rand on top of what we have with my employees, with the staff, etc., etc. Just by implementing that, all the stuff that you've implemented with the tracer and the automatic supplier invoices and stuff, I haven't touched my accounts in more than a month. It's a month and a half now. I haven't touched my accounts, and my cash flow is amazing.
Yep. And
so
So one of the number one things that you need to do is, in order to fix your cash flow, is actually have a platform. We talked about it in the marketing sense. Is you need a platform that you can measure where the problem is and then fix that. If you don't have that, I know a lot of guys, and that's one of the biggest misperceptions out there, is entrepreneurs don't know the difference between profit and loss and cash flow. So I'd ask someone, have you done your books and records? No, I haven't. I said, but have you made profit? He says, yes, I've got profit because I've got cash in the bank. I said to him, but okay, have you paid your taxes and have you paid your PAYE and things like that? Because you don't have systems. So if you don't have systems, how do you know to calculate it? No, I haven't calculated it. Okay. So do you know what's your profit after those things? No, I don't know it. So that's like a massive, massive problem. And, unless you understand the difference between profit and loss and cash flow, I guarantee you that you will run into a cash flow and a compliance problem a bit later in your journey, because this is what I see normally. 2-3 years, guys don't have books and records. They need financials for buying a bucky to do deliveries. We then start doing this stuff, and we do it quite fast because we have systems that automate this stuff. And then next thing, you sit with a massive compliance problem and a massive cash flow problem. That is the problem when you start using Excel. At some stage, you don't get the whole full picture. So yeah, it's going to be.
For the guys using Excel at the moment, or they're starting out a business, number one, what is? So we've got a few minutes left. I want to ask you 2 or 3 more questions. What is the best free accounting cloud-based system, and what is the 2 or 3 best paid versions for small businesses?
Cool. So there's actually quite nice free systems out there for a lot of our clients who's running on they've got like dormant trusts and dormant businesses and things like that. We still recommend that they go into the cloud. We use Wave Accounting. Unfortunately, they've canned their bank feeds due to some technical issues, but you can still download your bank statements from your bank and import them into Wave Accounting. So Wave Accounting is the number one free platform that we recommend. There's a couple of other
paid ones.
Paid ones. Yeah. 3 of them. Sage 1 Accounting, Xero, and QuickBooks. Those are the 3 ones. They really do the same thing. The look and feel is a bit different and got slightly different functionality, but in overall, those operate more or less on the same. They're more or less the same, and you will get the same results. So any one of those 3 really good systems.
After the show, William must just post all the stuff on the mastermind group, because you mentioned Chaser. What's the other one that does the slips auto entry, and then Wave Accounting for the free one, the paid one. So we can just post links in
the we can do that for them.
And then, so there's a lot of guys that I see that goes out and finds accountants. A lot of the guys that I coach, and they've got an accountant, but their financials is an absolute mess because the accountants don't look after them properly. So I think it comes back to the same as, how do you find a coach? What is the criteria of finding a decent accountant? How would you find an accountant?
So,
putting you on the spot.
Cool. So this is what I would do if I would go out there to find an accountant. Then the first thing I would do is I would ask that I see him on. If you don't have in-house financial people, which the majority of businesses don't have, they don't. So every single business needs someone that's financially astute. So a lot of business owners think that they are financially astute, and I don't disagree with them, because they business savvy, financially astute. But there's certain accounting things that needs to be taken into account when you look at your figures. Okay, so if you do not have an in-house person, you need to budget to go and find yourself an accountant that is
And Willys phone froze again. You must put on your do not disturb. I'm in farming, just started. So I'll post the link, Sonia, is on the group afterwards for the different links to the applications. It's made a massive difference in my cash flow of my business for the first time in a while, because I'm one of the spenders of the entrepreneur space. So I spend all the money that comes in. There's no cash flow. That comes in from a cash flow perspective always goes for growth. So it's this fine balance of spending money for cash flow and for growth, and then retaining money for the months that you dip down. The problem is, before Willie joined, I was living out of the bank account. So a couple of years ago, my cash flow was determined by the amount of money I had in my bank account, and that is actually one of the incorrect ways of doing it. So really sorry, welcome back. Just carry on explaining from accounting stuff, and then I've got one more question before we give it over to the viewers.
Good. So I'm going to make it quick. So the first thing is, find an accountant that will see you on a monthly basis and ask them to put you on a retainer. The reason why I say it, it's been statistically proven that clients are too scared to speak to their accountants because they think they're going to get this massive bill. So sort that out beforehand. Then the second thing is, make sure that he knows your business, inside out. You kind of want an accountant, and that's how our firm is. We are more leaning towards projections, strategy, and so forth. And the reason for that is, although we do compliance work for our clients, compliance work is something that comes after the fact. It doesn't really add value to your business. Okay, and then the third thing is that I want to say is, if you ever rock up at an accountant and they allow you to use Excel, please turn around and walk away. And the reason why I'm saying it is simply because at some stage you're going to pay dearly for those mistakes, and that mistake is going to come with compliance, taxes, etc., etc. So one of the biggest Excel mistakes that's ever happened was, I think it was the Bank of America, and it was a $2 billion mistake. So an accountant created a amortization schedule. So our amortization schedule is something which works out the repayment terms and stuff like that. And they had a formula error on that spreadsheet, and that someone decided to audit that at some point in time, and they literally found a $2 billion mistake. So please don't get yourself into that fix.
Look, I think from my perspective as well, I've been on an accounting system since day one. I never used Excel or something, mostly because I didn't know how Excel worked. And then the second part of it is being able to sit in front of your computer and pull an income statement to see what your sales were for the month thus far, to see what your expenses were by literally a click of a button. All your invoices are done. By the time you hand it over to your accountant, it's a full set of books. They audit it and everything's done. So they don't need to recapture it, because now you're recreating work. And remember, as your most valuable resource is your time. How you spend your time is the most valuable resource. And if you're spending time, additional time on stuff, it's a waste of money. You could be spending your time more productive somewhere else by having a system in place that automates everything for you. It's just so much easier. It takes you half an hour a week to process the last couple of things. Cool, Willie, thanks. I think that's my only questions for now. If you have something else that you want to add.
Just last thing quickly. Quickly, I think I need to tell it to guys. So there's really only 4 ways that you can increase your revenue. The first one is the first one is increase your clients, and that is one of the most difficult ones that you have, because you need to go out there and build a new relationship with someone. But if you've got proper digital marketing guys, they can help you with that. The next thing is you can do is you can increase the frequency that you transact with a client that you've already got. To give you an example, so we used to invoice only once a year to our clients. We've changed our business model. So 95% of our clients, we now invoice on a monthly basis. So from 1 to 12 times, okay? Then you can increase the number of products in your baskets. So, for example, you go to Spar. Let's say they only used to sell milk. Now you go there, you buy milk, you buy cheese, you buy bread, and something like that. So think about that. I mean, in our case, we've got compliance work, we've got strategy work, and so forth. Okay. And then the last thing is increase the value of your product. So add some value to the product, make it niche, or whatever you need to do. But the last three you can really implement with the clients that you've already got. So by just thinking a bit more strategically and applying the report that you've already built up with those clients, you can really go out there and change your business like literally overnight. I'm quite surprised that a lot of accountants ain't doing that, because they've got so many clients, but they're not making use of that opportunity to go and see their clients on a monthly basis. And I don't know, they think they're going to lose compliance work, but I'm like, dude, you're going to add so much value to that business as a accountant going to seeing them on a monthly basis, that they will probably never leave you. So yeah, I think that's from my side. That's all I want to leave you guys with. And then shall we take some questions, Eugene?
Yeah, if you have questions, please pop it in the comments. I want to ask one last thing is, there's actually a formula where you can work it out. If you increase your turnover by this much and you increase your purchase frequency by this much and increase your value of your item by this much, then it makes this difference. I'm going to post that thing on the WhatsApp group as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and then we'll take questions. If there's someone that's not part of our mastermind group yet, I'll quickly pop up and offer. On the right-hand side, you'll see offer page where you can join our mastermind group. $750 once off, and that's to join the group, which includes the business shows and stuff. It includes our courses, so the Facebook courses, how to market on Facebook, how to build your online store, because we believe everything's going digital. You need to have an online store, otherwise, you're going to struggle in the future. We believe everything's going digital. There's some stats out there that's saying if your business isn't online in the next 3 years, you're going to cap by more than 50%. So very, very important. It's online. So it's our full course, our mastermind group, and then you are able to join our competition as well to win the prize of 150,000 Rand worth of business coaching and mentoring for 1 year. You're going to double or triple your business. That's going to be our goal for ourselves, and that's absolutely free. Obviously, only available to everyone in our mastermind group. And cool. Any questions before we jump off? I'm looking for a system that I can create a quote that can convert to an invoice.
Cool. Can I answer that one? So any of those systems, I think apart from QuickBooks. So QuickBooks, there's various levels of license fees. So you need to be at a certain level, at which point in time you can actually change the quote just into an invoice. But I mean, this is this kind of standard functionality. I'm not sure if it happens in Wave, but it most definitely happens in Xero and Sage 1. And if you're at a certain level in QuickBooks. So yes, all of them can actually do that for you, George.
All of the cloud ones, you can go select a quote and it converts directly to an invoice by literally a click of a button. It's, again, take out the time of these small little things. Instead of taking 10 minutes to generate an invoice and you generate 100 invoices a month, or you generate 20 invoices a month, and then you take another 10 minutes for each quote, take another 10 minutes to capture your...
It gets crazy. So, I mean...
Different profiles, personality profiles. The guys who's running the business are entrepreneurs. They're creative. You don't want a creative accountant. You don't want a...
Creative accountants get you in trouble, pal.
So you want a creative accountant to coach you on your business and to help manage your business. You do not want a creative accountant doing the actual work of your business. They need to use systems to generate your business.
So yes, George, it's an all integrated system. So the invoice gets done in the same system as the place where you process the bookkeeping, after the bank transactions, everything. So it's a fully integrated system. You don't need to transfer information from one place to another place. Eugene, I see Sonia has asked something about, I'm looking, then in your then in your opinion, an accountant last on the list he has to do for a business is compliance. So if I'm not saying that's what they need to do, what I'm saying is, if you have an accountant like ourselves, which do the monthly stuff, when it gets to compliance, it actually is just another task in the monthly stuff that actually gets happened. So to give you an example, you would ask us to do your payroll. As one of the tasks, we will make sure that we submit the PAYE on time. And by half year and full year, your IRP5 should happen automatically as part of the system that we've built. The same with financial statements. So we do month ends every month for our clients to produce a set of management accounts. And the reason why we do a month end every month is to make sure that the information is correct. But in February, that month end is exactly the same as a year end. So at that point in time, we literally take that data, extract it into a set of financial statements, and we know that we can produce them very fast. So by keeping up with this monthly stuff and by having these systems, your compliance gets taken care of, at the same time that you actually get that benefit of speaking to an accountant on a monthly basis.
Last question, Willie. The app that we use for the photos, for the supply invoices and stuff. The two.
Yeah. So depending on what system you use, if you use Sage and QuickBooks, you can use auto entry, or if you use Xero, it actually comes as a add-on on Xero, which is nice. But it's really a piece of software. You can either email your supplier documents to a specific email address, or you can load it onto your computer just like you would normally load a document, or you can just take a photo with your cell phone, with your smartphone. Any of those three methods then captures that information into the system, and you kind of tell it the first time around. And I always use the example, this is an MTN invoice on the last of the month, and you always want to process it to telephone and expenses, and you need to charge VAT on there. So you do that once. The next time that the document comes into the system, it actually pre-populates all that information for you.
I love it. You just okay.
Yeah, and it depends on what system you have. You can actually select multiple of them and just say process, process and archive, process and archive. And the nice thing about that is, I'm seeing a lot of SARS audits happening now because these guys want to collect taxes. And like most of us, we never keep those slippies from the restaurants and petrol slips and stuff like that. They're asking for that information and it's faded, or they don't have it anymore. So by having this system, you've got an electronically saved document there. So if you do get a query, you can just literally select the document and send it on to them.
Awesome. Thanks, Willie. And thank you to our tribe for joining our business show.
Thank you, guys, for taking the time to come and listening to us.
Information, and I know a lot of people don't want to share the stuff. They want to try and keep it secret so that they can charge more and stuff. So again, just thank you for sharing so openly and sharing so freely all the valuable information. One last question before we jump off. Yes or no, can Wave do it?
Can Wave do full bookkeeping system? Yes, they can. They do actually have an app, yes. The automation is just not that great, but I mean, it can still capture those documents, and it goes into the system. Most definitely.
Thanks, Sonia, Moni, George, everyone that joined us for the business show. Thanks a lot, and we'll catch you on the mastermind group. Chat later, guys. Ciao.
Chat later. Thank you for coming.